Alright, more premium reveals coming up right now, and we're back, fellas, with 4 reveals. So, again, going to be a pretty big episode of the premium selection review this time around. I wonder, are a lot of people watching these? I guess we'll see by the end of this, right? We've got some really good ones today, actually. As a matter of fact, we finally, just spoilers, got the gold Paladin reveals. Got some spice with that, but we'll get to it. First off, Tachikaze, right? Everyone's favorite cyborg dinos, and I just want to point out the gun. Oh, the gun is so precious. Oh, it's the best thing ever. Tiny little T-Rex, but he's still got the handgun. This man, I salute him. He really wants to be World War III, 4, and 5. Alright, so moving on to the effects. So our strident question with the greatest handgun that there ever was is Explosive Magnet Gigantofilo. That's right, I did pronounce that. So then, it's got the Engorge skill, so okay, cool. We're seeing more of these keyboards being put in some of these strides. That's cool, I like that. So, on then, when it is in the Engorge state, you CV1 and G-flip any card. You choose the same number of rear guards as the cards retired for this unit's ability, the Engorge ability, mind you, which, just as a reminder, is when it attacks, you retire any number of your rear guards. So, you choose the same number as what you engorged, and they get 10k in the skill that at the end of the battle that they attacked once per turn, you soul blast one and stand that unit. Multi-attack, and even more multi-attack. So you just gorge off, I don't know, 2 or 3 or something like that, and then you just choose the other 3 units, and they suddenly get to become title assaults. Yeah, it's really like that. And their title assaults at extra 10k. This is just so nuts. I mean, especially when you're putting it together with things like Sweeper Karantos or whatever, what you're having to do the multi-attacks with are not like puny little things. Not only do they get the 10k, but they can get buffs from other things, right? Because equip gauges do come with buffs sometimes, depending on the effect. This is not minor. And not to mention that you have things like your Regiment Dragons, right? Like Blue Sprint, Regidon, right? When they attack, they're able to equip things as well. So you get to have multiple equip gauges on top of that, which can fill your sweepers if you want to fill your sweepers, right? So there's so much opportunity with these attacks. Now, sure, you're burning Soul Blast with it, right? And that's the downside. And I'm not sure how well Tachis can manage their soul. Tachi mains, if any of you are down in the comments, please let me know. Is soul an issue? Is it not? I'm not sure. But assuming it's like decently done, like you can Soul Blast 3 and just have 3 extra restands, and they're pretty powerful too, right? Assuming, especially if they're on Excel markers, they have buffs from other stuff. That's over defenses. That's really good. So yeah, Gigantofilo, he really makes good use of the handgun, it looks like. So now we've got Range Marquis, Regal Garter. Marquis, huh? Weird. Why do they have the Ammon sounding dude here, but as a Tachi G guard? Anyway, so he's got 1 skill, as is customary. When it's placed on Guardian Circle, cost, retire 1 or more of your rear guards. It's not a CB, fellas. What a change. And for each unit retired for the cost, it gets plus 10k shield until the end of the battle. For each unit retired that had an equip gauge, you draw a card. Yeah, okay, so the big beef, right? I'm not sure how many cards are going to be surviving by the time it's your turn. I mean, by the time it's your opponent's turn. But then again, if you're doing things like Gigantofilo, right? Like, you could probably just do what I said before, which is sack 3, power 3. So you have like 3 left. So this will make the thing a 45k shield. And because you're having equipped gauges, you can get a bunch of draws off of it. This thing is so good. It synergizes completely with the Tachi game style, right? Of sacking their units, but then getting advantage back. And it's a very powerful shield. And those draws, of course, have very good defensive value, but it's also good offensive value, right? Because it's not like, okay, purely just for defense, because you need cards, raw card advantage, just to be able to reset your field. Because where, like, Tachis kind of fall short of something like Shadow Paladins, which is also a retirement clan, is that Shadows have a propensity to be able to just get their units back on the board, like, stat, just superior call, right? As is the Paladin way. These guys not so much, so you just need to call them straight from hand to the field, right? And because of that, this is going to be really important for that too. So really, you're not even having to burn the candle at both ends. As anything, you're replenishing the candle at both ends. These are really, really well-designed cards, powerful for Tachis. I'm nowhere near an expert in Tachis, but I'd imagine you'd be playing both these guys pretty well. Like, probably a couple copies of the Regal Garter. I'm not sure. You got to feel it. I'm not sure how much you play of that. Maybe you play 2 of it. Maybe it's really good to play multiple copies, because I do know they have like Gluttony Dogma or whatever that stride name is, the busted one. So whether you'd go for this guy or Gluttony, I think it depends on whether you want card advantage or if you want multi-attack. This is more aggressive than Gluttony, I think, but Gluttony does give you that restand that doesn't lose drives. That's pretty good. But hey, you know, we'll have to see, right? That's why playtesting and tournament results are always the key. Right now, it's just hypotheticals. It's just predictions, but we'll have to see. So, moving on to the next reveals. They're a doozy. Alright, we're back. So, Nova Grapplers. Yeah, finally, we get to see the big Narukami Kagero looking card that's somehow a Nova Grappler. Everyone's been talking about it a little bit for the artwork, and now we finally get to see what it does. Oh, and as we can see right down here, it's an English card, which means, you know what that means, someone revealed it, and it was Tyfyghtr. So, link down in the description as to his world premiere, so to speak. He does it pretty good, actually. I like his act. So anyway, we have Fighting Emperor Dragon, Merciless Dragon, and very true to the name, this is its 2 effects. First off, when your rearguard stands by a card ability, you counterblast 1 and pitch 2 from hand to stand this unit. And if it is your main phase, you attack your opponent with this unit. However, its second effect is auto. At the end of the battle, this unit attack. This unit gets -1 drive and end of turn. So, Tyfyghtr's already done a bit of discussion on this, but me personally, I do like this card. I like it a fair bit, because it really is what Novas are meant to do, right? Which is, screw the hand advantage. Just swing at them. Let's see if they really are as survivable as they led on, right? Will that hand dwindle? Well, we'll see, Buster, right? Because at first it's like, wow, this thing can attack a lot. And that's true. And of course, there's a lot of synergy with V-Beast deities because of the main phase restanding and whatnot. So that's cool, right? You're getting a lot of attacks off of this. The one thing I will mention, though, is you don't have to just, like, rush down with this. Sure, okay. Being able to attack with the Vanguard, like, I don't know, 3, 4, how many ever times, right? Like, you will be getting a lot of Vanguard swings. I mean, the amount of Vanguard swings you can get with this is, like, the buff Stark, it's like you're approaching, like, 4 or 5 or something like that. Now, of course, you're C being 1 each time you do this, but, I mean, Novas are no stranger to countercharge options, so this isn't strange whatsoever. So, but still, it does mean you do have like somewhat of a cap. So I'm going to say you're not going to get off more than 4. If you're really excessive, maybe 5. I'm going to just cap it off around 4, right? So you're getting like that many attacks off, and because you can just stack all of your cards, your trigger effects onto this is going to keep on swinging and keep on asking for them. However, after its 3rd attack, you're not going to get any more drive checks. So, yeah, after that, your opponent just looks at it as like a big beat stick, and it's like, okay, there's no more mystery, there's no more chance to, you know, hit the busted Brant Gate over trigger, right? It's really just as honest as it gets now with its number and whatever crits it got and things of that nature, right? So yeah, you have to take that into account. This is really good as a kill option, though. I really like this idea as a kill option. Now, I know some people will talk about like Bustard or Bustard, however it's pronounced, right? And how that is also restanding, and that is potentially better. But I think this card has more of a ceiling if you just go for it. Just pitch everything you've got and just continue the attack. Now, of course, because you need restanding rearguards to proc this, you're going to have to think about things you can do that. I mean, you have some of the V stuff like Cool Hank and whatnot, and I think even Kick Typhoon has something to that effect. But yeah, so you have some restanders there. You also have some of like the extreme battler stuff with Victor and whatnot that can do it. Of course, the Beast Deities, that goes without saying. This feels very much like a Beast Deity card. So yeah, there's many ways to get the restands, but you have to negotiate those costs as well. Because if those are like, say, taking a CB, or those are, say, taking a discard, well, that's kind of Yaxaroonies, isn't it? Because then all of a sudden, you're kind of digging into the cost that you need to pay with this guy already. So you got to be careful about that. But if you're really trying to be careful, you can just only attack with this twice. Just as soon as it once, the rear guard stands, you go again, but it's easy. It's just a CB1, and the pitch 2 is immediately compensated because it only gets -1 drive since you reached it once, so it's just going to twin drive. So you keep your same card economy, got an extra attack, so there's no, like, if anything, your field just got stronger, especially if you happen to be running fronts. Yeah, that's very simple. So if you're wanting to chill out, this is actually a really good chill stride despite being Merciless Dragon, right? So there's adaptability there, and I really appreciate that. Now, as for the G-Guard, we've got Mediokaiser Stiffkneed. Now, Stiffkneed really continues the trend of CB, 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 because when it's put on Guardian Circle, you CB one or more cards, and it gets plus 5k shield for every face-down card in your damage zone. If you paid 2 CB or more for the cost, you draw, but if you pay 3 or more, then you draw again. So yeah, again, we see that this is one of those G-Guards that's more concerned with card advantage, but now you're really digging into the, we have counterchargers and Nova Grappler. I mean, the countercharging Nova Grappler has is on the level of something like Mega Colony, if you ask me. So yeah, this really digs into that though, because if you're already like pushing pretty hard, this will benefit you a lot to get you a lot of card advantage and like a strong shield, because you presumably use a lot of CB. Now it is on you, dear player, to find a way to flip up some damage afterwards. But I mean, hey, if you got a way of doing that, because they've got like I think 2 different G-Guards that countercharge. If you got a way of doing that pretty easily, then yeah, I mean, there you go. It'll take 2 heal triggers out of your hand, but if you got it, then that's what you do. So I do imagine this is probably only going to be like a 1, maybe a 2 of, but getting off one of these optimally is enough to like be super impactful in the game. So I totally see it being played. Then again, Novas actually have some pretty good G-Guards, so it's debatable. It depends on how ride or die you are. But yeah, overall, pretty good Nova reveals. Definitely falls in line with the playstyle, and I can see these being played in a lot of different variants. So good stuff. And now, let's move on to Gold Paladin. See you there. And we're back. So, we've got our GP waifu right here in the flesh and the gold. Wonderful. Wonderful. Now, let's see. Does her effect stack up to her artwork? I'd say yes. So, anyway, we've got Glorious Golden Knight Evalius. I'm TBH, I'm pretty happy that to go along with the Golden Dragons, and you have things like Glorious Reigning Dragon, and all these cool names, right? Like Glorious Reigning was the coolest one, though. Yeah, this is also a really cool name for just being a knight. So I do like that all the strides sound pretty epic. So, what does she do? She's got 2 skill. First one is a continuous unbanned circle, which is all of your rear guards placed by card ability this turn get plus 5k. Really nice boost, really cool, makes numbers, helps on Excel markers. Really the how applicable this plus 5k is as applicable as your imagination. Making strong, effective, well thought out columns is a key to being good at this clan, so that just adds to the pile. Second skill, auto van once per turn. When this unit attacks you, counterblast 1, put all of your rested, not any number, put all of your rested rear guards at the bottom of your deck in any order. Choose up to 2 cards from your hand and call them to rear. If you put 4 or more cards in the bottom of your deck, at the end of the battle, stand this unit with drive -2. Well, look at that. Spectral Duke has returned as a pseudo stride, and not just a stride, a waifu stride. So, what do I think of this? Well, in a word, amazing. The thing about Gold Paladin, I'll just let you in, being a Paladin guy and all that, I'll be completely transparent in saying the strides were kind of whatever. You know, the G-Zone in Gold Paladin is somewhat redundant because you have a lot of superior callers in the deck, and there are some that were kind of multi-attacky, right? Like you've got like Brambit, and then you've also got Glorious Reigning, but they sort of did it in their own way. This is also a multi-attack, right? Because you get to have 2 extra cards from hand and call them. Now, there's different ways you can go about it, like Glorious Reigning was a multi-attack in the middle of the battle, but it didn't do the hands. But you had Brambit, which does do the hand, kind of like how this one does the hand. So you can proc those on-hand call effects, things like Dendrain and whatnot. So that's really important. But the thing is that this one is technically a minus, because in order to get the most out of this card, you want to put back 4, and then you're restanding with -2 drives. So you're getting 4 drive checks total, but you put back 4 cards. So yeah. Now, let me be real here. This is Gold Paladin we're talking about. This isn't like when we were just talking about Tachikaze or something. No, this is a deck that is very much about calling units from the deck, as I said, the Paladin way. So not all the cards on the field were like actually from your hand. You didn't like give up crap for it. You got some stuff from the deck to the field. So yeah, you're willing really to like exchange that plussing into extra pushing. Again, there's a lot to consider here, right? The hand is important for proccing selective rearguard attacks. And this is really good, especially for Aglavale, of course, because Aglavale returns the hand at the end of the battle, so you can just call him out again. And he's second up rear guards along the way as well, so that's cool. But yeah, so that's more power. Of course, she's giving 5k to the units she calls. And can I just say, even if you don't want the restand, you can just CP1 and put back, like, let's say, 2 in order to call 2 from hand. So it's just like, it is a -2 when you do that, because unfortunately you're not like drawing to replace those. But yeah, because of that, you can do it if you don't want to get rid of a lot of cards, but you probably want to get the restand at that point. So I would recommend not going half-heartedly, go all the way with Evaldius. So yeah, anything else to mention? Well, let me just be straight up. Spectral Duke, at least in V, is a really powerful card. And what did that thing do? It restood. And how did it restand? By making use of the plussing that you had on the field. This is exactly the same way. And it's for that reason that I think this is actually going to perform pretty well as well. Because, again, by comparison, it does what no other GP stride does. It is a restanding stride. We never had one of those for them. We had things like Gurgit Helios, which had, for the time, it was like a Sentinel Restrict, sort of, but now it's not anymore. It's kind of fallen from grace that way. You get an extra drive, though. But then you have just stuff that does multi-attack, or like superior calling to the field, and in a sense both for the multi-attackers, right? This does have superior call during the battle, but then it's a restanding Vanguard. This has to be in the G zones of like Gold Paladin players, because it's different. It's different and it's useful. And for that reason alone, she's glorious, true to her name. And of course, just the peak. Yeah, baby. Waifu stride, that's good. Gotta love it. Okay, so then we've also got our G-Guard. He looks pretty cool too, but for a totally different reason. So this is Golden Dragon Sanctified Dragon. So Sanctified has one effect, which is when this unit's put on Guardian Circle, Soul Blast one. Aw, no CB? Damn it. Look at the top 2 cards of the deck, choose up to 2 unit cards from among them, yes, orders are a thing, and call them to Guardian Circle, discard the rest. If you call 1 or more grade 1 or greater units, you draw a card. Okay, at first glance, this is just weaker Slamy Flare, but there's a couple things to note. For one thing, unlike Slamy Flare, you don't actually rely on cards on your field to put back for it. So, not only does that mean that in a field wipe this is useful, or Slamy Flare is not, that also means you're not negging for this guard effect. As a matter of fact, you could in theory plus, because you could be getting grade 1 or graders. The problem with this though, right, is you don't know what you're going to get on your top 2, so it's very tricky to guard with this. In general, my recommendation though, to make the most out of this, because I think that draw is really nice, and it's just for a Soul Blast to get that draw, and of course you're still guarding without having to minus, right? It's a matter of fact plussing. My suggestion, guard with this when there's a card that's attacking that doesn't have a lot that requires to be shielded, right? So you guard with this, and maybe it's like something that demands like 20k shield, maybe even demands 25. So you look at the top 2, and those can potentially guard it, right? As a matter of fact, if you get like 2 triggers, you can have some pretty massive shield here if you high roll it. But let's say, for instance, you just got like a grade 3 and a grade 1. That's 25 shield right there. But that doesn't even necessarily be all, because one thing you can do to be safe, because again, this is a superior call clan, you're superior calling a lot. Save your grade 2 interceptors if you can for those situations. Intercept with them to make up for the extra 5k shields, or just have extra shields on backup in case you need to do it. But yeah, so this is cool that way for mitigating costs, and it's a plus when you didn't have one from other G guards. Of course, looking at you is pretty sparse. It's very much like any man's game at that point as to what you get, but it feels like you're just getting benefit. So just play wisely. Just understand that if your probabilities are in your favor for going to this, you're probably going to go into this. And again, if it's been a field wipe, then you kind of have to go into this, don't you? Because Rhea, no. Slavey, no. Not really much else you can do there. Sanctified it is. Alright. And we got one more reveal of the day, or the night, depending on what time of the day it is for y'all. And that's going to be Granblue. And we're back. So, Granblue, currently one of the meta contenders in Premium, alongside Pale Moon, Mega Colony, that was an interesting one, and so on and so forth. So, what does Granblue get this time? Well, let's go into it. This Chad-looking mother effer is the one and only Pirate King of Eternal Darkness, Bartholomew. Ooh, he's got 4 syllables to his name. So, this guy has 2 skills. The first one is, when this unit attacks, Counterblast 1, choose up to 3 cards from your drop with different card names, no multiple Skull Dragons as each other, call into rear, and until the end of the turn, those called unit gets power plus 5k. Okay, that's cool. And then second skill is Continuous VC. If there are 30 or more cards in your drop zone, so you've been dumping, when your opponent would call cards from hand to Guardian Circle, they must call 3 or more at the same time. Okay, so Bartholomew is really good. The thing about Bartholomew is, this is a stride that is V Night Rose with the Crystal Luster / Chainranker Battledore effect. Yeah, that sounds scary on paper, and it is scary. So, what do we think about this, right? When you're going to this guy, if you don't have 30 or more cards in the drop, you don't really need it, especially since you could just go into something like Bad Bounty, get multiple Vanguard attacks. Of course, Obadiah is probably still going to be your first stride for setup if you need it. But when you're looking for a finisher, this dude hits harder than Bad Bounty. Although, that said, it isn't the Xeroth Dragon, but whoever said you're always going to get the Xeroth Dragon, right? So assuming you don't have the Xeroth Dragon, either because you don't have the Persona Ride target in hand, or because you don't have the CB for it, right? You don't have either of those for it, like you only have one CB, whatever. Go for Bartholomew. Bartholomew is a fantastic finisher. And on top of that, not only is he a fantastic finisher, but this card is kind of a majestic pluser, because the thing, let's keep in mind, there's no hollow here. There's no get rid of them afterwards. There's no get rid of crap. You basically Cocytus these to the field. You get a +3 for a CB with a power up. You can keep those cards on the field if you wanted, dude. Of course, you can go for things like Ghost Ship you wanted, but if not, these are just pluses. So that's like a thing that people aren't really going to be thinking about, but it's very powerful. And note as well that the Battledore effect is really cool, because unlike the Xeroth Dragon, where, sure, okay, there's a lot of Skull Dragons that are hitting really big, but maybe your opponent has the ability to, like, PG a lot, this thing is kind of an anti-PG thing, because now they're going to have to give more of their hand for each of their stuff. So, depending on what you're playing against, like, maybe some really, like, tanky, PG-oriented deck, like a Protect deck or something, this might even be preferable to Xeroth if you could do the Xeroth. So, as a finisher, it's amazing, but it can also give you some resources, and the multi-attack potential of this is really cool because of things like Nightstorm as well, because Nightstorm's rear guard is also extra multi-attack, and of course, you can do things like with Beatrice and whatnot, which can extend things further. So, yeah, it's 5 attack minimum, but between the Battledore, the power-up, and just the combo ability of your other cards that you call from drop, this thing is just amazing. I mean, you're going to be running this. This is just so good. And you know what? Surprisingly, the same thing can be said for the G-Guard. So we got Phantasm Prisons of Moonchain T, Oriana. So Moonchain T is a ghost, and here's what she does. When she's put in Guardian Circle, costs, there we go, Counterblast 1. We're back, boys. We're back with that Counterblast. For every 10 cards in your drop, the attacking unit gets -1 crit until the end of that battle. So, if you'll recall from a few, episodes ago, I think, 3 videos ago, we had a DI card that did something similar, except it measured every 10 cards in sold, but you were able to distribute those minus crits among, units. This one's kind of the opposite, so it's every 10 cards in your drop, but the payoff, here's the thing, you don't minus crit, different units, but you do give it to the same unit. And arguably, I think this is very situational, but I might like this a little bit better. Here's the thing. If you're trying to juggle whether or not giving crits to multiple things versus just hammering in a lot of minus crits to one thing is better, it's a toss-up, right? Because the minus crit that the DI thing was until end of turn. But if you were dealing with a lot of multi-attackers, that's really bad. That's really bad to deal with, so the DI card was good. This is really good if there's one big attack that just has an insane amount of numbers, but it's also got an insane amount of crits, right? So if they're just trying to hit you really hard with a lot of crits, and you can't deal with the numbers, this just invalidates that singular card. Like something like Dragonic Overlord the Cross, right? That thing can be coming in for a lot of crits, and you just say no. You could also be having to play this against something like Hamiel, which is still live in premium potentially, so that's another thing you can do. And there's just other crits, so yeah, it's cool. And I think one thing that's also really good about it is versus the DI thing, which to get a -2 crit to do, or -1 crit to 2 different units, you had to get 20 cards in soul, which you put in some legwork for that. This thing is just every 10 cards in drop, which relative to the 2 decks, this is an easier condition to fulfill, so I do appreciate that a lot. So yeah, Oriana, I can see it being ran in the decks. G-Guards are definitely a pretty simple thing for Granblue. They got a lot of good G-Guards, and they can even recycle back their heal trigger if they're one of the clans that can do that. And so yeah, this one is going to be having some pretty steep competition, but I think she'll weasel her way in at a copy or two, because you never know when being able to just completely invalidate a singular attack with all those extra minus crits. Yeah, you never know when that's going to come up, right? So I totally see this as being a good card option. And that is going to do it for all the reveals today. We are looking really nice with all these cards. Bushy haven't been pulling back their punches with these reveals. Feeling really exciting. I want to dig in a lot of these, but let's wait until the end of all these reveals. I may or may not have a video in the works ranking some of these reveals. Maybe a top 10 list, maybe a tier list. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe you have suggestions on that, let me know. But of the reveals we got today, I would say the most blatantly powerful ones is going to be the Granblue ones. But my personal favorite, gotta be the Gold Paladin ones this time around. It had to be. Not only did we get good Gold Paladin waifu, but we got a Spectral Dude-like card for Gold Paladin. Finally, restanding stride. It's exactly what they need to maximize the potential of their superior calling to the fields. Such a good stride. So yeah, with the MVP being noted for this time around, I can't wait to see what the MVP of the next video is going to be. I believe Outer Orange is next up to bat, and we'll have to see what she reveals. It might be something like Bermuda or whatever, but we'll have to wait and see, right? In the meantime, let's just kick back, relax, watch the other reveals come in, and hopefully I get to see y'all next time with some equally exciting cards. And with that, take care. God bless.